Hi, welcome to another episode of On the Sideline. Today we'll be looking at Brazil, we'll be looking at Argentina, and I even really want to touch on Argentina yet, but nevertheless, we'll be also looking at Portugal and Spain. And let's not forget what a good performance we've had today from Ghana. So let's just step right into it. With me to my right, I have Jafar Gibbons, GFC manager, and today we have a new, surprise on the lineup. This is Curtez Kellman, pro football player of the Sporting Kansas City Football next. So let's just dip right into it. For more Curtez also, thank you for being here with us. This is your first time here.
No.
You have a very informative discussion on panel today alongside me and Jafar. Jafar, thank you for being here again.
Yeah,
This second week. So let's just dip right into it, bro. Match day one has concluded. The groups, we've seen some upsets.
Yes.
But I think it's just right that we start with the proclaimed best player in the world, Argentina. I think it's just right to start right there. So, all right, you guys thoughts, so the upset with Saudi Arabia,
Well, for me, being an Argentina fan, I think Saudi Arabia came out with a game plan and it worked towards their strength as well. They came out with a high pressing line as well. I've seen many goals that Argentina scored. It got called for offside, but I don't want to be biased here. One of the goals should stand. I think VAR has made a big mistake on that play, but let's not go into that. Argentina is a big team. They have the best player in the world, arguably. So we don't have to complain about that. I see Argentina progressing out of that group.
How about you, Jack? What's your thoughts?
It's very surprising. Even if you give Argentina the goal that Curtez is claiming VAR should have allowed, Argentina shouldn't find themselves in a situation where you're struggling to get a goal from Saudi Arabia, or even if you're wanting a goal out of a situation like that. There's no reason why Saudi Arabia should even walk out of a match against Argentina with a point. And to the argument, remember when we first started, I told you, I've seen that Argentina team that would have come out not successful, unsuccessfully. So that was a bit surprising. Argentina should have walked away with that victory, but like Curtez said, Saudi Arabia came with a game plan, they stuck with it, and it worked for them. And sometimes you just gotta go with what's working for you. We saw Russia in the last World Cup upset Spain. Football has progressed in these times now where there is no more little team at the World Cup. Everybody that's there are there for a reason. So you have to give teams those respect, and that's why I believe Argentina shouldn't be wanting of a goal out of a VAR situation.
Yeah.
They should have punished Saudi Arabia with the chances that they also had as well.
But coming out 35 games, 35 unbeaten games, that I guess that run, I think it's spanned for 2 years or more. That was before the Copa America. We went on this incredible run to now. But for Saudi Arabia, a team that I guess the highest rate is valued at $3 million. Yeah, that's actually fast. The highest rate is like $3 million. To come and spark that level of upset, well, we could look at it from different perspectives. Perhaps they were players that shouldn't even be starting that team. Look at Nicolas Otamendi. People could also talk about the inclusion of Paulo Dybala. Why wasn't he, why didn't he start? But they opted to go to the retire right, which I don't think was actually a bad idea at the same time. He's a good player, and on a good day, he could spark. But to me, it shows is these little fine margins.
It don't really matter how long you've been unbeaten. Yeah. Football plays on the day, regardless of who you are. When the whistle blows, that's when football plays, and it stops when the whistle blows. Well, Italy was on an unbeaten run for about 2-3 years. They didn't even make it out of the World Cup playoff. So even though impressive a run it was when Argentina was 36 games unbeaten going into the Saudi Arabia game, all of that didn't matter. This is the first game. This is in Qatar. this is Saudi Arabia. There's also some international politics there as well.
Yeah.
So, it's a very big statement. And going into a game like that, the average Qatari player is not worrying about, they have Messi or Di Maria. You have to show your work. And like Mr. Kellman said, the team went with a game plan and every single body worked towards that game plan.
And added to what Jafar said here, I think preparation played a major part leading up to this tournament, because if you look at the Saudi Arabia nation, they had a lot of time to prepare, whereas many other teams, they had just a week or a few days to prepare, because players coming off of the club games and so on. So I think preparation played a key, because that preparation will help build chemistry with the team, no matter how long players playing with each other. It's not like a club whereby the players are practicing with each other every week. But the international, I think that at the international level, you have players, coming a week before the international games to prepare. And I think Saudi Arabia had a fair, chance to have that preparation so that they can work on tactical stuff, so that how the game plan to, go in that Argentina game. And I think that played a major role, and they, like I said earlier, they stuck to their game plan and it really worked for them.
Let's say right in that group, because we saw the game with Mexico and Poland, if I'm right, and we see, that intensity that Mexico is playing with. So it forces me now, from I think it's just right, because everybody, is in their own opinion. So if I'm going to say that, Argentina is going to come on this group, I think, to my opinion, I'm going to be a hypocrite to myself. Because, Mexico has been a team that we've seen slay giants. It's not that we've never seen this with our own two eyes. We see just in the last World Cup with the way they played against Germany. So I think that this Mexico is a more, it's a more cohesive unit. Despite they having that 1-1 draw, it just happened to be a bad day for them in front of the goal, because we started off so because Lewandowski actually got this penalty safe. But I don't see Argentina actually beating Mexico, which is their next game.
Well, I personally think, like, before the World Cup, at the CONCACAF level, Mexico standard had dropped a fair amount, because they were the giant of the CONCACAF region. Now you have USA, who's, have made an incredible step, and you have Canada as well. I think they have just won the CONCACAF so that they can qualify for the World Cup. So I think their standard have dropped, and I think they have gained a massive result, which played a big favor in Argentina role. And I think that, I think every 4 years, there's one player from Mexico who wakes up from the dead, the keeper, Ochoa. He always played a big role in the Mexico team. But I think personally that Argentina stand a chance against Mexico going into that game. And, Poland having Lewandowski as well, I think due to them being a European team, having not as much as quality as Argentina, but as Jafar said, football is on the day. I know going into that game with the position Argentina is in, I think they stand a really good chance in qualifying. Also going back to 2010. Spain lost their first game in the World Cup, and they lived the trophy at the end.
But then, don't we mix that the whole aspect, because we're talking about Spain with the real golden era. We're talking about Iniesta, we're talking about Jafar, we're talking about one of the most clinical striker we've ever seen play, which is David Villa. Fernando Torres. So don't we compare as a same everybody there.
I think it's fair to say, like Curtez is saying, look, Spain lost their first game, won the World Cup. As a matter of fact, Spain only scored 8 goals out of the entire World Cup. So it's not to rule that possibility out. I think, to me, the degree of difficulty is different now. Because your second game is against Mexico, for all that it's worth. And the Mexico League is so lucrative and so competitive, the guys are not even inclined now to go to MLS as it was before. So they and the standards is there. They are at the World Cup for a reason. Like you said, they are one of 3 teams from CONCACAF that's at the World Cup. You have Mexico, America, and Canada. Costa Rica as well. So those guys can play football. I think Argentina more than ever now need to bring their best game. Anything less than your best game against Mexico might not get you a result, because even on your best days, Ochoa, like you said, is in that goal.
Yeah.
And we know him in that goal on his best day. Nothing that is still to a quota in a goal for Mexico right there. So that game speaks a lot. I do believe Argentina just have enough quality to beat Mexico, but I think football plays on the day. I'm going to say that Argentina will win that game, but it's not a foregone conclusion because football plays on the day.
So what we've seen also within this group stage, we've seen the renaissance of France. We've seen Karim went down. We've seen Lucas Hernandez, he torn his ACL, which means that he will not participate in any more group games in the World Cup. The his World Cup is finished. But then we've seen France also made a statement performance. Despite being without all these guys, we've seen they managed to win 4-1 against a team that they actually won 2-1 last time in the 2018 World Cup. So I spoke to you, Jafar, last week, and I told you that this France is better than last France. I told you on live camera that this France is going to go on and win this World Cup again. But the song is a joke, the song is an unlikely possibility. So let's just get, what are your guys' takes on France and Australia? What do you think about France?
I don't think they have the experience as they did in the previous World Cup. Knowing that due to you said injury played a big factor in their team. The loss of Paul Pogba and N'Golo Kante, the two played a very important role into them winning the previous World Cup. But I think they do have a good team to progress, not to the finals, but into the quarterfinal stage. But I don't think they have enough experience to win the World Cup this year.
I think, to be honest, France, even if you give them 4 or 5 injuries, they have the quality enough to go a deep way in the World Cup. I wouldn't rule out going to the finals, because look, Croatia beat the finals. So I'm not going to say they don't have the quality despite injuries. To say that France now is better than the last France that won the World Cup, I think it's a bit naive. You don't have N'Golo Kante, you don't have Paul Pogba, you just included Karim Benzema back into your side, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner, and he was injured. Then you have Mr. Hernandez that is now out injured. Those injuries wouldn't play a factor in the group stage, because more than likely you're playing teams that are below your quality. When the knockout stage reaches, you're going to see a different level of football being played, and it's going to hinder how well your team progress. I'm not going to say they don't have the quality to progress deep into the knockout stage, but I think it's naive to say that they are better than the last team, even with those injuries.
So then, let me just direct this question to Curtez, right?
Yeah.
So Curtez, why would you think, naturally, that Brazil has enough to go to a World Cup with an inexperienced midfield of Lucas Paqueta and probably Fred? What's the difference between Paqueta and Camavinga or Fred and Truman? What do you think is different? Why do you think Brazil could make that leapfrog and not France?
Well, I think, like you say, Camavinga and Chouameni, they're young players, now coming into the high standard of the league. I mean, they've been playing a while now, but they're now playing their first World Cup, just as Paqueta as well too. But I think Paqueta is alongside Casemiro, an experience that who can guide him in that area. And with that guidance from Casemiro, knowing that he provides that sturdiness in the middle, and Brazil only lost the game against Belgium in the previous World Cup, and that game he didn't feature it. So I think he will bring that experience and that guidance towards Paqueta rather than Chouameni and Camavinga being there, with no one to guide them, especially in this big stage, the World Cup.
Well, Curtez said this game, and I'm going to stand on mine that, France remains the favorite because France has a Dembele now.
Yeah.
And this is an informed Dembele.
Yeah.
And on a good day, this Dembele is better than Mbappe, and that is what we say. see, you guys see that?
I second that too. I
On,
second
on,
that.
on a good day, Ousmane Dembele is more better
Define best day. Define his best day.
Best day. I would say that game against Australia, Ousmane had a far better game than Mbappe, realistically. Despite him not scoring, he got himself, he bagged himself a very good
Kylian Mbappe destroyed Paris Saint-Germain for years while playing for Monaco when Paris Saint-Germain was the only team in the world.
But then,
Before we go on, Kylian Mbappe was also one of the highest goal scorers at the last World Cup.
Yep.
He's the youngest goal scorer at the World Cup with so many goals.
Yep.
Kylian Mbappe has been first player of the year for many times.
Yep.
Ousmane Dembele in his best year was never even close.
yeah, but then how could we?
So what makes it? What makes it is better than
But then
Mbappe?
you're gonna be biased now because if we're gonna talk about a player that has been out for like the last 2 years with injury,
You're as
what
good
what
as-
best day are you even talking?
You're
I'm
as
telling you,
good
I'm
as
telling you
you
now.
know.
I'm telling you now. This is what I didn't want. I didn't really want to like create that animosity, amongst
No, we
the
talking.
French players. And what I'm trying to say is that on now in this World Cup, right now, Kylian Mbappe, despite him having goals, it's just goals is the only thing that is going to show, Mbappe, on another level than Dembele. But performance-wise, Dembele has been having a fantastic season for Barcelona. And now you can look at him now in the French, because now he's fully
But
fit.
his best season, even if you say no, it's his best season, he still isn't. But he's
But I
still.
personally
I'm talking
think,
about the
right?
World Cup.
I personally think if it wasn't for injuries, Ousmane Dembele would have been on the same level just as Mbappe.
And I'm not saying it.
And
I'm
he would have
saying
been in that
you're as good.
category.
You're as good as you're available. I can't say you're good. I can't say Job Caesar is as good as Curtez Kellman if Job Caesar is never available and Curtez is always available.
Yeah.
What am I judging Job on? So
Yeah.
I'm saying to you, I'm not saying Dembele can't be on that level.
Yeah.
He hasn't featured enough. To even if you take away stats, he hasn't featured enough for me to say he can. Potentially, anybody can be better than the next man.
But the
You
main
still say
reason
he's
why
gonna be
he's
a
saying
trick
that
anyway.
because you can actually see Dembele quality.
I
in the
know,
game,
I know,
understand?
I know.
And that's where you
I know.
compare and do the
I'm not,
comparison.
I don't have a problem with his quality, but when you say better than Mbappe, because I don't believe there's a lot of quality better than Mbappe. I'm not saying Mbappe is the height of quality. I'm just saying there's not much quality above Mbappe. So when you say better than Mbappe, you have to come to me with some solid proof. And to me, Dembele doesn't have those measures, measuring sticks to say, look, he's better than Mbappe. He could shoot better, he could run faster, he's pass more, he has more assists. You don't have that. So then, that's
But we're not looking for rest on pass because for the fact that this guy lit up Bundesliga in like a season and a half of pass. So I say, I like this body go invest. So he's, but you know what? This video is gonna go far, and the least or what I'm afraid of right now is this video hitting the French camp because I need no problem with it.
fair.
So let's talk about Spain. Let's talk about Spain. We've seen Spain won 7-0.
Yes.
And they beaten, I would say, a wounded Costa Rica, not only wounded, but an old Costa Rica. This is an Asian Costa Rica team, but nevertheless, in Guyana Trump, when you jog a move, you beat them. You understand? So, this is Jafar team. So, Jafar, you start. Tell me what's new.
I think it would be fair if you apologize to the viewers because last week when we did the show, you didn't give Spain all that love. And to be fair, the Spanish team now is very young, they're very vibrant. One of the problems that we had coming into the World Cup was that the lack of finishing. We weren't finishing, we were creating the chance, we were passing the ball a lot, but we weren't finishing. I think the Spain that you saw against Costa Rica, granted we had to win against Costa Rica, we were in the group with Germany as well. Spain really beautiful football, and I think the Spanish example set yesterday was critical because a lot of the big teams were looking at, okay, even with the French game out of the way, a lot of big teams was looking at what Spain will do because we already see a lot of teams drew the game. We saw a lot of upsets as well. But Spain handled themselves well, they played well. We didn't expect Spain not to pass the mark. That has been Spain's philosophy all the time. So we didn't expect it, but I think Spain played the game the right way. They played it beautiful. Your crowd from your club said beautiful football is simple, and I think Spain played very simple. They took the chances that came to them, they scored, and right now it's just to get the German game out of the way, and we'll take it one game at a time.
What about you, Curtez? What's your thought about Spain?
I think Spain is the Spain of all the time, like Jafar said. They pass the ball, they move the ball all the time. You know, they didn't even allow Costa Rica to get a shot on goal.
Yeah.
You know,
I think they won, but it was real.
and at this stage, at this high level, you know, you expect teams to be competing, and you know, and it looked like a training session for Spain. So I think Spain is a Spain that we all know from before. The only thing that they were lacking is the finishing. So I think in that game, you know, that helped build a tempo for them so that they could go in the game, you know, boost of confidence so that they can prepare well for Germany.
Last week, me and Jafar, we spoke about Alvaro Morata. And the footballing world has been very crucial to Alvaro Morata for a while. Since this guy, you know, came on the scene as the backup striker of the car, you know, in Real Madrid, it's like this guy, he's got there on the champ before this guy was scored. He might be a player local, but I'm not gonna call him. But this guy's got a lot of chances to score one. But when I watched Morata play against Costa Rica, I think there was a lot of confidence. Not because he's a new team, but at times it takes some more people to actually bring out the best in you. I mean, you could beat a Mocha and you beat up a opponent and all the confidence raises and then you go and have a good tournament. But I've seen a level of confidence from Morata that I haven't seen in a long time. His head has been down a while and his shoulders drop.
To be fair, at the time when he came on, the game was done and dusted. So, like you said, maybe it was just to get his confidence in, but I think the coach's decision to actually insert Olmo there and leave Alvaro Morata, who's probably our only pure striker, on the bench was a critical decision, and it proved that the guys were recovering the ball very well. Costa Rica, like Curtez said, didn't even get a chance to put together a string of passes. They look like they are on a regular day playing against an high-level team. No disrespect to the guy in this national team, but you know, Spain did the work. They did the work and they got the result. I'm not surprised by Morata. I'm glad that he actually scored. But I don't foresee him starting against Germany. So
I've heard Jimmy Carragher, and both him and I am very critical of English journalists. I've heard Jimmy Carragher came out and said that for 15 minutes he watched one play in that Spanish team, and he was like, that player is going to have a great World Cup, or probably he's going to be named, you know, World Cup best young player, and that's Pedri. I mean, Pedri literally balls on his field.
Pedri is remarkable. I think people forget that at one point the war had to petition Barcelona and the Spanish team to sit the guy. He was playing for like 3 years, full 90 minutes. He even went to the Olympics 90 minutes right through. This guy is an animal. He plays football very well. He's young. I don't know if he has a girlfriend, maybe he needs to have a girlfriend, but that's a lot of meaning to me. He can really work. So he was very good yesterday. I like Gavi a lot. I like Gavi so much.
Remarkable.
Yeah, I think the Spanish team is very young. Everything they're good now. If you give this team 4 more years, we can talk about another 2010 Spanish team. They are that good. Those guys are that good. And if, like we saw yesterday, the finishing come together, it's going to be a problem internationally when you have to play Spain, because those guys aren't going to give you any view of football.
What we've seen Germany drop points. We've seen they lose the last. So who's that team? Japan. Who's that team? Japan. We've seen the last to Japan Curtez. Where do you think it went AY for Germany?
Look, before going to Germany and talking about the negative aspect, right? Japan is a team that came from the last World Cup. They went 2 ahead against Belgium, and Belgium had a very solid team in that World Cup, you know. And it's just because of simple errors. Like, simple errors cost any team, you know. And from since then, I always know that when it comes to the World Cup, Japan is one of the teams to beat, you know. And going in that game against Germany, you know, I was watching it with a fellow companion of mine. I told him, this game isn't finished, you know, Japan have to score. you know, and so said, so done. They scored 2 goals and win the game. So I would never ever rule out Japan, you know. They always bring that quality, you know. Even while talking to some friends of mine yesterday, the guy said Japan went inside and bring out a whole new team because he really got so I think Japan, you know, is a really good side, and I think they will probably progress throughout the group. But I think the negative part of Germany, the part that went wrong, I don't think they were, like early in the game in the first half, they weren't finishing their chances. Yeah. And I think that played a big part in the game. You know, once you don't score, you can't win. You know, so I think goal scoring is a is a critical something in this World Cup. So once you don't score, you won't win the game. So
you see, in football, especially at the World Cup, all the stats at the end of 90 minutes doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how much goals you have. Scoring has hurt Germany in the last World Cup as well, and we see it come back to haunt them again. I mean, 1 goal against Japan or Germany, that game is done and dusted. There is no logical conclusion as to why that game should finish 2-1 in favor of Japan. Nobody can see that. As a matter of fact, I left my room to go at the back of the house and come back. By the time I came back, Japan is 2 goals up. That don't happen nowhere in the world. Japan versus Germany. And there's no disrespect to Japan, who is a very good footballing country as well, not to rule them out. But Germany have to win that game because now, Germany has to win that game because now you have to play against Spain, who, like you said, confidence and how high they play. Very beautiful football. We can remember one time Spain and Germany about 5 minutes in a game without touching the football. These things can happen in a football game. You have to finish your chances. Like Curtez said, you in the first half, all the chances are coming to you. If you don't finish them, and let me tell you, I've been watching football a lot. If you don't finish your chances, there's a very high possibility that the team is going to sick you up. Just because you don't finish your chances. We saw Poland drew the game that they didn't even score a penalty. They drew the game, you know.
I'm going back to that scoring chances, not coming off of what we're talking about, but look at the Belgium-Canada game.
Yes, oh my God.
That's a good example of not putting away chances. Belgium, let me tell you, the 2nd-ranked team in the world, you understand? And Canada, a team who coming out of being the champion of the CONCACAF region, is nowhere on that level. Belgium on paper. But yes, it is. Show that they're on that level.
And Canada outplayed Belgium in every single department.
Exactly.
Like I said, 90 minutes, at the end of 90 minutes, the only stat that matters is how much goals you have.
And
Belgium game is an excellent. I mean, Belgium wasted a few of their attacks as well, not in shooting, but the way the passes went. But when you look at the game, Canada should have walked away with that game, at least with a draw, and they came out losers. So, you know, that's the reality of football. You win based on how much goals you score, regardless of who you play.
And so with this, let us stay on this goal scoring, concept. Let us look at the current African Cup nation winners, Senegal. And just look, to me, they outplayed Netherlands during this game. Ishmael Yassar, and these guys had a very good game, but they kind of lacked that potency in front there. They lacked that side, and he was going to dog the performance and give that goal. And then we see, what's his name? Cody Gakpo.
Yeah.
He actually, rose up and actually got a goal, and the Netherlands went on to win the game.
Yeah.
So we look at it, well, actually won how much? 2-0?
That game finished 2-0.
Yeah, and then we have all come on.
Yeah, they definitely outplayed Netherlands. I think the game changed after the first game. They have to open out, they have to counter-attack, they have to. The sad thing about the African nations in the World Cup is that up until today, none of them had scored a single goal this entire World Cup. So it shows that, to me, there is an issue there in finishing. There's no reason why at least Senegal shouldn't score. They should have scored against Holland and they didn't.
I am no fan of betting.
Yeah.
I don't advise anybody to bet, advise to gamble.
Yeah.
But if we're to look at these African Cup of Nations qualifiers, it's safe to say that on the majority of these games we could bet under 1.5.
Yeah.
So it shows that naturally the continent of Africa has a scoring problem.
I don't think it's necessarily a scoring problem.
If they don't score, we're going after them in the leagues. the cup qualifications, then how do we expect them to come on the biggest stage and just score it?
That's fair.
It just won't work like that.
Yeah, it definitely
So,
don't.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Africa, they got to work on their finishing.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about Ghana now, because Ghana actually last streak today, they actually broken the African, score records.
Yeah.
They actually had a good game.
They could have drew that game as well. They could have drew that game as well. And what's the guy, Mr. Williams? If he didn't slip, then that's 3-3. Yeah.
So let's just for the Ronaldo fans, for the people that support Ronaldo, true and true, people like Anthony Ben and those guys. What do you make of Portugal's performance?
Portugal had to win the game. They were the superior team. They had the superior side. They got the bigger names. They have the biggest names in the world football, regardless of what you want to say. So to me, they had to win that game. I'm not ever impressed by Portugal's performance regardless, because sometimes they can perform to the highest, sometimes they can just give you, the reality is they played the playoff to get to the World Cup, so they didn't qualify out of the qualifier. So it tells you, even though with all the quality, it's a struggling team to perform on the field, and football don't play on paper. Football actually play on the field. I expected them to win. They won not convincingly, but you take them how you get them, because your next game is against Uruguay with Federico Valverde, Darwin Núñez, Luis Suarez, Cavani, Diego Godin and the likes. So you had to win that game. I'm sure Portugal tonight is going to be praying a lot, because they come away with a result that they had to get. But outside of that, I wasn't too impressed by the performance, but I'm glad that they got the win.
Let's just go to your Curtez. We've seen Ronaldo was being released by Manchester this week. Now he's a free agent. And I heard you made a statement before you come and said that Ronaldo looks as though age is finally catching up with Ronaldo. How would you rate his performance today? Does it look like a matter of, it's age now?
Well, I think, I have so much respect for Ronaldo. I think he's played a high level for his entire career, and I think leading up until now, I think each game is different, and majority of his Manchester United game, his club appearance, it shows that age is playing a big part in his performance, something that the club is looking for within his performance or within the team as a whole is that they want to see the team pressing, playing aggressively and stuff like that. And I don't think Ronaldo right now is capable of pressing from here to there or here to there for like 10 to 15 minutes how the coach want him to. So I think that age is playing a big factor in his career. He already proved what he had to prove within his career, He's one of the greats, and I give him all of my respect, But I still have my favorites, but I still give him my respect. So, but after today's game, it shows that, he still get like a few more years, but not with that same high intensity that he used to before. But he can still play there as well, because if Zlatan is doing it, why he can't, So.
Any thoughts you
Not surprised. He scored a penalty. If you give Ronaldo 10 penalties, he's going to score 9 or 8, but he's going to score a lot of them. So I wasn't surprised. Like Curtez has said, Ronaldo's age, he's 38, he has played at a high level. There's absolutely nothing for Ronaldo to prove in world football today, tomorrow, yesterday, regardless of if he's playing or retired. There's absolutely nothing that he can do now. Today he's the only person to score in 5 World Cups, and this is his 5th straight. So you're not surprised by things that Ronaldo can do. I don't think his performances now, no coach is going to ask a 38-year-old player to track back and defend and get players. They don't even ask Messi to do that. He's 35 years old. You're not going to ask Cristiano Ronaldo to do that at 38. So, Ronaldo can do what Ronaldo will do on a given day. Of course, his ability has dropped, because he's not the Ronaldo of 35 years old or 33 years old. You're not going to get that. So I'm surprised, but even Ronaldo at 78 is going to start on most teams. You know, I think even with the news, Ronaldo has always performed at a high level with the brightest lights. So with good news or bad news on the sidelines about Cristiano Ronaldo, he's going to perform. Let's not forget, he threw the reporter's camera set in the pond in the Euros, and he went and win the Euros. Regardless of the sideline stories, the guy lives for a moment like that. So I'm not surprised. He's going to do good things.
So with that way you just mentioned, right? With the throwing the reporter camera set in the Euro. He had an interview with Piers Morgan recently, so he's thinking that after this, he's going to lead up to winning the World Cup.
No, listen, like I said when we were speaking, I'm never impressed by Portugal's performance on a football field. They get the names, but the performance just don't bring it out. Today they played exceptionally well. Bruno Fernandes was exceptional. I do believe some of the passes were misguided at times, but they have an idea as to what they want to do. I'm never impressed. Will they win the World Cup? World Cup and Euros is two different things. You know, fresh out of this game, you have if he brings force, he plays the second place person, I think, in the Brazil game or in the Brazil group or something like that. So, you know, you have to think, like, can Portugal win the World Cup? Anything can happen at the World Cup. But no Poco team don't win the World Cup.
Just got hope Brazil don't get second.
That too.
Just go. We've seen, and we heard about the 5-star general. Guess what? I'm not even talking about Montreal. We're talking about Brazil. We're talking about a team that everybody expect was going to win 7 games today. But I said they're not going to win the World Cup, but I never said they're not going to win today.
Yeah.
So that, you know, viewers, I'm not that critical of Brazil. I expected at least 4 or 5 for a team that get Neymar, Jesus, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, I was critical since last week of the omission of Roberto Firmino, and I'm still critical of it. I'm critical of the inclusion of Bremer and not Gabriel. I'm critical of what is this guy name? Sorry, it's about Danilo starting and not Eden Militao. So they actually want to hear Richarlison start. He had a good game. So guys, what are your thoughts about Brazil?
You're never going to. The Silicao is the hardest team to pick in world football, regardless of day, time, age, whatever. The Silicao is always the most difficult team to pick.
Put in mind, Jafar, there are 2 Silicao.
No, the Brazil Silicao is the hardest Silicao to select. You're always going to leave somebody home that fans feel should be there. This has happened all the time with Brazil. Regardless of who you carry, you have to win your game. Like you said, you were expecting 4 or 5 goals today. I think this Brazil team has built a lot of hype coming into the World Cup. So people expect a lot of flamboyancy. The reality is the Europeans or the world over isn't allowing Brazil to play Brazil football anymore. This has happened all the time. Since they get the ball, let's take them. We saw Neymar in the last World Cup was fouled the most times, 26. Today he left the game with a swollen ankle.
So he's already the most foul player in the whole world.
Exactly. So they're not allowing Brazil to play the Brazilian side of football on the omissions. Like you said, I wanted Firmino there as well. But that aside, Brazil has to take care of business, and they have done so very well. Serbia isn't a mock team. Serbia came to the World Cup by beating Portugal to come here. They didn't play a playoff to get to the World Cup. They actually qualified for the World Cup. So it's not to say, Brazil is the #1 team in the world. They should lights out beat anybody. But Brazil don't have that quality you're talking about. I think that's his first World Cup. Yes. Most of the guys, some of the guys, it's their first World Cup. Anthony, Rafinha, Rodrigo. These guys are now at the World Cup, so it's not the lights that they're accustomed to. So I'm not surprised. I think they played very well. They didn't overplay or underestimated their enemies. They played very well. The first half could have gone either way. They struck the bar a lot. But in the second half, they handled business very well. And I think this is a very professional showing of the Brazil team.
Yeah, people will say that I'm a very complicated person when it comes to the selection of my teams, because Brazil, I actually supported Brazil from small growing up, because of them being my neighbor and looking up to Ronaldinho and so on. But, if you ask me now, if you tell me, I tell you, I support Brazil. But if you ask me who I want to win the World Cup, I would say I think Messi deserves a World Cup because he's my favorite player. So that's where the complication comes in, you know. But going back to the omission, I do think Firmino deserved a spot in the squad because he had a lot to prove during the starting of the season of the English Premier League, and he is up there with, you know, the players that are scoring week in, week out, and he had a tremendous season thus far, you know, so I think the omission of him is very bad, but like Jafar said, the coach had a tough decision to make, and they're there to, you know, take care of business. So
let's just talk about Rafinha, who we've seen on the par game. This is not Rafinha that we've seen in Carnival World Cup qualification, because he has been electric, he has been lightning fast, and he has been very clinical in front of that goal. So let's just talk about Rafinha. How did you rate his performance?
I think today wasn't one of his best performances. You know, I think he had like 2 chances that he should have scored. But I think, you know, every player in the world, even to Messi and Ronaldo, they have bad days, you know. So I don't think we should judge him by the first game of the World Cup. I mean, it's a big stage, you need to, you know, be on your A game and so on. But I don't think we should judge him just yet. But I think we should give him time to like continuously proving himself, you know.
But ever since Rafinha went to Barcelona, when he moved from Leeds to Barcelona, to me, he went down a notch.
First off, I don't think his performance today was on the par. I think it could have been better. You can say that for almost any performance, even if it's a spotless performance. I think my biggest criticism of Rafinha is knowing that Rodrigo is sitting on that bench and knowing that what Rodrigo can do, and you have Rafinha out there in his position. And then the expectation of what you want to see Brazil to do is also bailing into my perspective of, okay, maybe Rafinha shouldn't start, Rodrigo could start, because it's Brazil, you want to see enough goals, you want to see enough flair up front, you want all these things. So I wouldn't criticize him on that. To your point with his move from Leeds to Barcelona, you have to take into consideration. You're playing for Leeds, you're playing for Barcelona. You're probably the best player on Leeds. You're probably going to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th best player on Barcelona. Correct. And you have to share the ball more, you have to share the spotlight more. There's a whole lot of things going into playing for Barcelona. So
I wouldn't, a different system.
Right. I wouldn't necessarily say that he has regressed, his game has regressed. I think his game now needs to evolve more, where he doesn't need to be the center of the attack or the center of attention, because look, at Barcelona you're playing with Robert Lewandowski, you're playing with Ousmane Dembele, you're playing with Sergio Busquets, you're playing with all these guys, Piqué that just retired as well. So it's a different dynamic going to Barcelona and performing. But Rafinha on a good day, like Curtez said, he can be very good. And I do believe he can be very good. But today, he wasn't very good. And like I said, part of that being, to me, knowing that Rodrigo is on the bench, that can play in that position and has been sublime for the last year and a half, I think maybe Rodrigo could start. But we are not in the training session. We are not seeing what Tite is seeing on the sidelines. And, you know, granted, it's the first game. Maybe next game you see a better Rafinha.
I think you're being biased as a Madrid fan, though.
No, I'm being honest. When I was watching the game today and I'm seeing Rafinha play, especially knowing that Rodrigo plays out wide there for Real Madrid and what he can do. This guy, he has the goals to his name, not just this season, but last season. He has been big time. So you're watching the game today and you'll be like, maybe I can start Rodrigo in front of Rafinha, not because Rafinha isn't good, but because you know Rodrigo up front there. Serbia wasn't even allowing Vinicius Jr. or Neymar to even run with the ball. The time that they did let Vinicius to run with the ball resulted in 2 goals. They say every time they allow Vinicius to do what he wants, it was creating opportunity. The Serbs was never going to give you that. With Neymar and Vinicius focus on that side, I'm sure Rodrigo is going to run in easy, and this guy has an eye for goal. So that's basically my criticism of Rafinha, but he's good.
Well, you are them. You are them. France is going to win the World Cup. I reiterate that. I posted that on my stats a few seconds ago. Argentina is not going to come out of the group stage. That's just my prediction. Good luck, Messi, next time, but this is going to be the last World Cup nonetheless. So, let's see. What are your guys' take? some may say Brazil, some may say France, some say Spain, some say whatever. But this has been another good session on the sideline. Thank you, Curtez, for coming through. We're looking forward again next week. You guys stay tuned. Next week we're gonna have a more star-studded show for you guys. So Curtez, thank you again for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
More star-studded than this. Me not understand. You right, Steve. How you doing?